Howdy folks, TJ here. Time to do a little bit of a 2022 update on my solar setup for power outages, for camping, and let you know how things have basically went since my last video. I think my last video was when I went camping this last late summer, early fall. I took these two bad boys with me. Those solar panels by Rockpals, these the Ecoflow River Pro setup with extra battery. And I also took this. Too much. I probably didn't need to take all this, but I did because I wanted to test out scenarios for, I'm in California. PG&E, at least where I am, has rolling power outages when the wind's going to be kicking up and stuff's going to be fire danger. They're going to turn off power, which for the last number of years means you can be without it for days. In the past couple of years, I think one time we were out of power at least a full 3 days, going on 4. And that's a lot. Where I live up in the mountains of California, lower mountains, foothills, I'm on well water. So when the power goes out, we have no water. So I still need to cover those bases. I can't with this, but I can by filling the tub. So the old-fashioned, you need some water to flush the pooper, right? So I fill the toilet, well, fill the tub with lots of water so we can fill the toilet with water so we can flush. Common sense. And then you can use it as backup water supply. But we typically, before winter hits, I make sure my 7.5 gallon blue water jug has plenty of water in it. I have a little secondary 4-gallon one, which sprang a leak during this last camping trip, so I need to buy another one. And then we have 3 or 4 or 5 1-gallon jugs here. Plus, I've got a reverse osmosis setup in the kitchen, and the tank holds, I think, 2 gallons. So even if the power goes out, you got a little water there. So typically, I feel comfortable with water. Power, though, to power some essentials like phones, stuff like that, I wanted this. Run some type of refrigeration. Now I did some tests, so if you've been watching my videos, I used these to power that old 20-some-odd-year-old refrigerator, I think it's at least 20 years old, for about 10 hours. So if it's just a typical quick power outage that you're out of power for a few hours, this works great. But if you're going to be out of days, you need to have backup. So if you watched again some of my videos, my thought process was, this little propane generator, Baja. I think Ryobi used to make it, and then Baja makes it now. It looks the same. It's a 700 with 900 peak propane. You can connect it to a 20-gallon external tank or these little 1-gallon. That you could quick charge these. And if you watched my videos, I had difficulty. This thing takes 600 watts when you're doing the fast charge. This thing kept shutting off. I thought I figured out if you let this run for 4 or 5 minutes by itself and then plug this in, it would work. It kind of does, but it kind of doesn't. It's not perfect. Did it get me through this last year and a big power outage we just experienced, which I'll explain in a minute? Kinda. But I do need to retool a little bit. So in a nutshell, Ecoflow River Pro and extra battery, big thumbs up. It does great in a power outage. So if I'm in Northern California, if you watch the news, we were smack dab in a huge snow event. And what's happened is California's been in years of drought. And then all of a sudden you get a big dumping of snow, a big dumping. Trees fall over, branches fall over. Grass Valley in Nevada City where I live looked like a nuclear bomb. Not that bad, but it was pretty bad. Every few hundred feet on roads, trees, pine trees, oak trees, power lines, you name it, everything was out. So for a good 2 weeks to 3 weeks, not here, but in the greater area, people were without power. No power at all. Luckily, where I live in the South County, we were out of power going on 5 days, 4.5 days, which is a lot. For anybody that's been without power for that long, try it. Try it without electricity to flush toilets. Even if you have electricity and you get city water, don't flush the toilet. You fill it up with a bucket water. See how it feels when you have to do that stuff. It's not fun. It takes a lot of work. At first, it's romantic the first night. Then that second night of romance starts dying off when you start having to fill the toilet with water. It gets to be a pain. So, unfortunately, with it being out of power so long, this mechanism didn't work great. It was overcast, it was rainy, it was snowy, it was no sun. So these wonderful solar panels that did so good on my camping trip were useless. And plain and simple, if you don't have sun, you're going to do diddly squat on a little system like this. Now, I don't know if roof type of units can collect a few ounces of wattage here if you had a whole roof full of these things. Needless to say, that's not my setup. My setup was I could take it camping, it's fairly lightweight, it can get us through small emergencies at home, a little bit of a backup route. Technically, I could have plugged my refrigerator into this. These little things only last an hour or two, but I could have plugged up a 20-gallon tank and ran it for a while. But I ended up not doing that. I didn't think I need to get to that level because, to tell you the truth, when you've got a frozen freezer, without power, you can get by overnight. You don't have to have power running 24/7. Get it cold enough and then let it coast a little bit. So what I ended up having to do is we used this tag team to run our internet when it was operational at first. During the power outage, luckily, the fiber lines that were here, and we just had fiber installed not long ago. The weekend, when we got power back, an emergency crew was fixing a pole and took out fiber for 10 days. So we were without internet. But during the power outage, we were able to do internet, charge the phones. I have a Wii Boost to grab a signal 4,000 miles away that I get no bars on my phone here to give it just enough to where I could sporadically get texts so my wife could get texts from work. I could keep my little phone system working. I'm on a little AT&T box that's you can plug your old-fashioned phone into. That's an electronic phone, not an old analog one, but a digital one. And it works through the wireless network. So we can make calls, kinda, just good enough, because I'm no longer on old landline here. But this kept us in communication. We'll leave it at that. Was it perfect? No. But it's because of the remote area I live in. The power kept router running, kept things running for internet. So this worked great. Now, like I said, that old refrigerator back there, if you can see it, running this in tip-top shape 10 hours, and that's it. So I ran it for the first day for like 5, and then I tried to charge it up off of this, and it didn't go very well. It took me 10 minutes to get this thing started. It was really cold out, and I had not run it since, well, a few months ago or whatever, in camping. And then it got running, and then I plugged this in, and then it gets the 600 watts of fast charge, and this thing turns off. It kept tripping. Kind of like my test that I did last year. But I thought I figured it out that if you let this thing run smoothly for 5 minutes, it would be all right. Well, it didn't. It took a while, but after 15 minutes of battling it doesn't make sense either, because this thing's supposed to do 700 watts regular running, and this was only asking for 6. So something's not quite jiving either with this, or the tag team together. But ultimately, I went from 0 to 49% before this thing shimmied around so much, and this thing was ice cold and frosty that I decided that it actually turned itself off. It tripped up. So I said, screw it, 50% almost on this. So I was able to then the next day run what I started doing. It was cold out, and the house was in the 50s every night. So I let that thing run without power, or stay without power, run it for an hour, let it cool up again, and then let it coast. Run it for an hour, let it coast. Basically, in our freezer, my wife and I mostly have vegetarian-based products, fake meats and stuff, and we had some regular meats in there too. We're not strictly vegetarian, but we're trying to go that direction. So the only stuff we really lost in there was like ice cream that would just melt, but then we still ate it afterwards. It wasn't like it was bad. It just wasn't perfectly creamy. It had a little meltation in it, but we didn't lose any food. So I did a lot of coasting, a lot of adjusting. What's cool about this is technically we could then go out in the car, charge it up off of your typical 12-volt socket. What would be nice, Ecoflow, if you made a little device, even if that device was $100. I don't want to spend $600 on another one of these, but an adapter that lets you take the external battery in a car and charge it up without this. Because in emergencies, my wife could have drove to work, which is a half an hour that direction, and charged up for a half an hour, and then a half an hour back. We could have got an hour charge off of that external battery, and then even during lunch, she could have went out and ran the engine for a half an hour. We could have juiced up this battery a little bit. It would have been helpful. So if you ever find it in your hearts to make a way to charge the external battery without the use of this, I think that would be nice. You know, it's just, this is one connection here. Make a cable that goes to some little box that you connect to your 12 volt and let it do its thing. I don't think we need a whole battery setup to do that, right? Even if it's this, one of these cut in half, remove the batteries, but just let it do the charging stuff, circuitry. So anyway, that would be nice if it did that. So solar was not good for this last event we had. This kind of got us through a little bit. It added a few extra hours of me being able to run the refrigerator. It wasn't perfect, but we got through 4.5 days of no power, no heat in the house. Well, heat in the house because I've got a propane stove, and I had 30 gallons left in our big 200 and some odd gallon tank. So we were fine for keeping warm. And the refrigerator and freezer kept things well enough. You don't need to have it 38 degrees. I know they say you're supposed to have foods at 40 or 39 or whatever, but to tell you the truth, it got into the 40s in there and everything was fine. For us, that's perfectly fine. Not saying it would be fine for you. Technically, I know there's probably things, food starts spoiling and all that, but to be truthful, for us, what I did and jury rigged worked. So what do I want to do for this next time around? I need to change this. I'm thankful I have it. It might be great to take camping with you because it's relatively small. And it would be good to have as an emergency backup power source in case something happens with this setup. But I'm going to, I think, invest in a propane and gas, so a dual setup since I got propane here, generator that I can have here at home. One of those $500-600 units that have considerably more power than this one does, so I can indeed quick charge this in an hour and a half, 2 hours, and be able to then run the refrigerator longer. So if we did have expensive meats and other things in there that I was really worried about, or that great ice cream I don't want to lose, I like my ice cream, then I need to invest in something else. So I'm glad I have this. It worked good. For 2022, I think I need to replace this because it took me a long time to start up, and when I got it started up, it kept cutting out. This thing freezes up, and it shimmies around. It's nice, and it was only $250 out the door. It was on sale. So I'm glad I have it. It's a good emergency one, but I need to invest in a nice $500, $600, maybe $700 dual, bigger one that I can keep out in the garage that can power these. And then maybe one day, if I have the extra scratch, get a Delta. I really liked Ecoflow. I think they're a cool company. I'd love to get more of an all-home unit. We really like the silence of these to keep... everybody else was running generators, and it was noisy. There were some people that ran it overnight. I mean, go to bed. Go to sleep. Turn it off. Your freezer will be fine overnight. You don't need to run it all night long. Unless you're on a CPAP or something for medical, and maybe that's the case, but there was a lot of them going on. And in this little valley mountain area that we live in, you can hear it all night long. It's like, come on, just turn the dang thing off. But yeah, I prefer silent power. That's why I dig these. And then during the day, when people mostly are at work, have a unit that can fast charge these. I could always buy an extra battery or two of these. They're not terribly expensive, but like I said, it would be nice if, for now, if I wanted to just get another one of these, if they came out with a way to charge these external batteries without the use of this, thumbs up. Without it, I think at some point I may, rather than buy another one of these batteries, maybe invest in a big Delta unit that's expensive, but a more of an all-home unit that can power up stuff like that better. And to tell you the truth, this thing's starting to, it's a nice Kenmore, but we know drawers are starting to fall apart. We've had it fixed once or twice. Now the nice fruit area drawer broke, so the plastic's cracked. it needs to be replaced. So we could probably get one that runs off of 1/2 the power of that, and then these will be 20 hours instead of 10 to run it. So anyway, that's my 2022 update. This setup did get us through 4.5 days of outage of power. I had to compromise, but you know, I'm still here, still ate plenty, didn't lose any food, and I dig the Ecoflow setup. And like I said, this one didn't come in handy for the power outage, but it did come in handy for camping. It's a nice little setup. And this, I'm a little bummed on this. I thought this was going to be perfect. A 20-gallon propane tank connected to it. Could charge this up. It's just not up to snuff. It's just almost there. And it just couldn't handle a 600-watt continuous charge for 100% charging this up. So anyway, that's my update for 2022. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Have a great rest of your 2022, and maybe the next video I do. Oh no, I'm not done. I'm not done. No. I purchased something in this box. Oh, so in this box I got two things. So let's move this off. So these are a little stanky from dust out in the garage, from camping, from dog licks, all that stuff. Let me put this down too. So I figured out after the fact that Ecoflow makes their own for this, but they are a little bit pricey. So if they ever came down in price, I like supporting the companies that make stuff. But when there's an alternative that's really cheap and we can actually use it for other stuff, I had to get it because I'm dirt poor right now. I purchased, with a tip from the Ecoflow sites, they're basically lunch pails that are the right size to store these. And you can, if you looked at these close, there's a lot of dust and stuff on here. So let's try one and stick, as long as the big one fits, we know the smaller one will fit. And because I've been having a problem, I've got part of the stuff out there, I've got these in my old Volkswagen bus to keep them out of the way. Keep mice from getting to them, because we do get mice here at our house. I live up in the sticks. And then the power cable, I don't remember where that was, and I don't remember where, for my solar panels, where the extender cable is. I still don't know where it is. It's out there someplace. If I could keep everything in something like this, it's a nice, it's got little handles here. It's made by Lifewit, Lifewit lunch bag, L-I-F-E, and it looks like a W-I-T. You tell me, is that Lifewit? Can you even see that from there? But it's a lunch. Now, how do you open this thing up? Okay, well, there we go. So it's insulated. It was only like 15 bucks. Times 2, 30 bucks. And we could use it as if we're camping and we need to keep something cold for a day jaunt, because once you're to your location, these are coming out. But bouncing in the back of the van and dogs being able to chew on stuff, it's nice to keep them clean up until you get there, and then you can rig them up. But it's a nice big cavity. It's got a big flappy door. It's got side mesh there, mesh there. It's got handles so you can carry it. The webbing is, you know, it's strong. I'm sure it's not, you know, 1,000 pounds strong, but it's going to be fine for these. And technically, if it's not, you know, I'll carry it like this. It's got a front zippered pouch where you can unzip and store some cables. So I can store some of the cables that I've been losing. I'm getting old. I don't remember where stuff is. I can put my glasses here and go, where's my glasses? Oh, here they are. And you find them 5 hours later. So let's see if this fits. Hopefully it does. Oh, Ecoflow River Pro. Oh, so far so good. So, oh, can you see this? Mama, look. The webbing strap is perfectly fine. No brainer. Look at that. Perfect. Now I can dust them off and store them clean. Now you don't want to run these things in here because these things need to disperse heat. But for carrying from point A to point B, that is awesome. There you go. So like I said, Lifewit. I'll put the post below. I got them from Amazon. So anyway, thanks for watching. Now I'm officially done. Peace.